Hey guys, it's your boy Kieran here from Gunners Fan TV. Today we're doing what's going on at Arsenal. So to start off with, we've got three major segments in this discussion. We've got transfers, financial support and Arteta. Firstly, we're going to be looking at transfers and lack thereof. So far, we've had quite a few rumours going on. So obviously, the top two to mention will be Felix and Mudryk. But unfortunately, Arsenal have got no transfers through the door. We're now halfway through January, and you can clearly see that we could probably need the reinforcement, especially in midfield and up front. Although so far Partey's got no injuries, and our midfield has stayed relatively injury-free, and Eddie Nketiah is doing a pretty good job. I don't think we have the strength in depth to compete at all fronts, especially with the manic fixtures we've got coming up, especially when we're going for 3 games a week. It's going to be nuts. So I'm not quite sure why Arsenal have got no transfers through the door. And to let someone like Chelsea come in the door and just take our transfers is quite embarrassing. Like, we were supposed to be a big club. I've been at the top of the table a lot longer than Chelsea have, and even though we've had a bit of a down patch in the last 10 to 15 years, we're still a bigger club than Chelsea. Global fan base, the lot. I mean, yeah, they've won more Champions Leagues than us, but look at all the other trophy counts. A Carabao Cup, Premier Leagues. Okay, yeah, they won more Premier Leagues, but not more league titles. And the FA Cups. We're by all means a bigger club than Chelsea. The only people that doesn't think that are Chelsea fans, and let's be honest, most of them are like 20 years old. So there we go. I'm not sure why Arsenal haven't brought in any new players so far. I don't know whether it's Edu or Arteta or the Kroenkes are the reason why we haven't brought in the new transfers. But it seems like we're not willing to stretch that budget. I'm all for saving money if that means we can put more money back into other players. But so far we've got no one. And I know January transfer window, it's not always the busiest window, and it's mainly for like bringing extra players in if needed. But we can clearly see that we need the players. Okay, if Nketiah gets injured, who have we got to replace him? The only other striker we've got is Balogun, and he's out on loan. So we've got no one else. And we're not sure when Jesus is going to be back, if he comes back the same way as he left before the World Cup. And in midfield, if Partey gets injured, we definitely know Elneny is not going to be able to keep up the same type of form as Partey. It's just not possible. Okay, I love Elneny. He's a great squad player and he loves the club. So by all means, he's good to have around, especially in the dressing room. But in our starting 11, we saw what happened at Spurs last season. Okay, with Elneny in midfield, we can't do it. Okay, and I'm not looking forward to going to like somewhere like Old Trafford again and completely have no midfield and get passed through. Okay, we saw what happens when we don't have Partey in his team. He's instrumental, and he's the only reason why not the only reason, but one of the main reasons why we're top of the table right now. So I am quite concerned. I don't want to put a downer on it because I know Arsenal are flying at the moment, and we should always try and keep in the moment and try and stay positive. But I'm starting to get a bit worried. Okay, and I'm sure a lot of Arsenal fans are quietly getting worried. There's not a lot of public media saying the same thing, but I can't help it. I've got to ask questions because I'm not quite sure what's going on right now, and quite frankly, I want to know: are we going to bring anyone else in this window? I mean, Arteta said himself, we've got to maximise every single window, and so far, we've been beaten by Chelsea to João Felix, who I would have loved up front, and Mykhailo Mudryk, even though he's spent the whole last month twerking for Arsenal, and suddenly Chelsea walked through the door and he's going to Chelsea. Now, I know Chelsea are going up and buying all the players, and okay, we might not be able to compete financially with Chelsea, but I mean, let's come on. We're supposed to be a big club. Okay, are we going to continue down this path that we've been down for the past 15 years and letting bigger clubs come in and take the players that we're interested in, or are we going to finally act like a big club? It's one thing doing it on the pitch, it's another thing doing it in general. Okay, we've got to do it in the transfer window. You can try and be strict with your budget, but at the same time, you're sending a message out. All other teams have to do is come in and outbid us, and Arsenal are not going to compete. I mean, there's only a finite number of star players that come around every generation. Okay, I mean, look at Haaland, for example. Salzburg got the domino on him, and then Borussia Dortmund snapped him up from Salzburg, and now he's at Man City. Okay, Kylian Mbappe from Monaco. PSG got in there. Okay, I don't have to keep going down and naming loads of players, but there's only a finite of real top quality players. And if we allow teams like Chelsea to come in and swoop in against a potential star like Mudryk, when are we ever going to have any star players? Okay, we brought in star players from Okay, we found Martinelli from the third division in Brazil, and we brought in Bukayo Saka from our academy. But at the end of the day, our academy is only producing a finite amount of players, especially when it comes to top quality players. I mean, yeah, we've got some great players coming through, but is that all we're going to be relying on? You can't maintain being at the top of the league by doing this. I mean, look at Man City. Okay, they've brought in quality every single window. All right, yeah, so they might not have brought in that much in terms of price tag for each individual player, but most of their transfers have been like 50, 60 million. But they've brought in quality players, and no one's trying to Skype their players. All right, maybe a couple of players have gone elsewhere because, like, say, Man United with Fred and a few other players, but for the most part, when Man City go after their players, they get their players. And no one's going to argue with that. Chelsea are not going to try and steal their players because they don't think they can compete. And that's the problem. Other teams know that they can come in and outbid Arsenal, and we're not going to compete. I don't understand why we've made that known. It shouldn't be known. Okay, it's one thing doing that in the background. It's another thing making it known that if you come in and you push Arsenal too far financially, we're just going to walk away. It happened a lot last season, especially in the summer transfer window with Rafinha, and then the January before that with Vlahovic. I know he obviously wanted Juventus. It's coming to a point now where other teams know that Arsenal are not serious when it comes to transfers. Okay, and all they have to do is outbid us to get the players we want. Right, so to another talking point, are Arsenal going to be able to compete at the top of the table for the rest of the season without any transfers? Personally, I think we could, but we're leaving a lot to chance. Okay, it only takes that small chance for Partey to get injured, okay, and then we're out of it. I don't see us being able to play the same way without Partey in the team. Or if Odegaard gets injured, yes, Fabio Vieira can come in, but is he the same level as Odegaard? I don't think so. He's not there yet, at the very least. And then if Xhaka goes injured, obviously Xhaka is like a robot. He barely gets injured, and when he does get injured, he's only on the sidelines for a short amount of time. If someone happens a serious injury, all right, we're a few injuries away from being in turmoil. We saw what happened last year when we were going for top four, and a few injuries completely derailed that challenge, and now we're stuck in Europa League this season. So I'm quite worried that we haven't solidified any transfers this season. Well, at least in the January transfer window, there needs to be more action. And if they're going to be doing like the same they did with Fabio Vieira, as in no one knew what was going to do, then that's fine. Bring someone in under the radar, by all means. If Chelsea are coming to snipe our players, do it in the background. But so far, it doesn't look like that. There's been no, like before with Fabio Vieira, there was rumblings like Arsenal are doing something, Arsenal are doing something. What are Arsenal doing now? Okay, there's new links with Moussa Diaby, but we know Leverkusen's not going to let him go cheap. So that's most likely not going to happen. Now we're looking at Declan Rice. We know that Chelsea have been twerking for Declan Rice for ages, and what, are they just going to allow us to have him in the summer? I don't think so. I think if we go for Declan Rice, Chelsea are going to come in and outbid us for sure, 100%. There's no way we can compete with Chelsea, or at least maybe we can compete, but it doesn't look like we want to compete. We don't want to be brought into a bidding war, which is fine. Obviously, you don't want to get like bidding loads of money like Manchester United do for players. But then, if Man United want a player, they go in and for him. Okay, they get the player. Man City, if they want the player, they go to Aston Villa, put down 100 million and walk away with Jack Grealish. Other teams are willing to do that. And I'm wondering, is this going to be a roadblock that's going to cause Arsenal to fail in the long run? Okay, we have Man United and Liverpool both getting financial takeovers within the next year or two. Okay, Liverpool, FSG are looking to sell Liverpool. The Glazers are looking to sell Man United. What happens when the two of the biggest clubs in England have financial backing like Man City and Chelsea? What then? Personally, I'm scared. I'm an Arsenal fan, and I'll tell you right now, I do not want to have the croquets in our back pocket while, say, Qatar is in Man United and, say, Abu Dhabi is in Liverpool. And then we've got all of them. Then we've got, like, massive amounts of money in all of the clubs. And don't get it twisted, Arsenal, we're a big club, but Man United are a much bigger club than we are. Historically, trophies, the lot, much bigger. Okay, they're one of the biggest clubs in the world, let alone England. Then Liverpool, they're a sleeping giant. Okay, the last 5 years they've come back close to the top. But in the 80s, Liverpool's one of the biggest clubs in the world, if not the biggest. All right, so there's levels to this. All right, Arsenal may be the third biggest club in the country, but we need to start acting like it. And being scared of transfers and wanting to be put into a bidding war is only going to hurt us in the long run. I want to talk about the financial support. Okay, the Kroenke said, be excited. Mainly Josh. He came out in the interview 3 years ago, say, be excited. All right. As an Arsenal fan, I am excited right now. Okay, we're doing great, we're flying high, but being an Arsenal fan, I've got PTSD. All right, I've grown up most of my life with Arsenal. In the early part of my life, Arsenal were winning, and then for the past 10, 15 years of my life, Arsenal have been mudded. All right, we've had a few FA Cups in that meantime, but we've seen several times when Chelsea's come into the scene, Man United, and then Man City come onto the scene, and then Liverpool, and we've just been walked over. I don't know whether the Kroenkes are willing to give us what we need. All right, the jury's been out on them for a while now, and a lot of people, they've won a lot of people back over, and a lot of people, they've gained a lot more patience, and people are now willing to sit back and watch what they're willing to do. But so far, I'm not impressed. Okay, yeah, they've supported Arteta to a certain point and they've stuck with him. They've done well by Arteta. But now we're back at the top of the table. We're back at a big table. What are they doing? Are they going to treat us like a big club? Are they going to act like a big club? Because so far, we've yet to see it. All right, yes, we went to Man City in the summer's transfer window. We bought Jesus and bought Zinchenko. But let's not get twisted. We wouldn't be doing that if it wasn't for Arteta. Okay, Gabriel Jesus didn't come to Arsenal because of Arsenal. Zinchenko didn't come to Arsenal because of Arsenal. They might like the club, but if it wasn't for Arteta, why would they be here? Okay, Edu has certain pull in Brazil with his relations because he used to be director of football for the Brazil national team. But so far, another transfer that we were linked to was Danilo. Now, I'm looking online, he's going to Nottingham Forest. All of our targets, or supposedly targets, are nowhere to be seen. Okay, it's in the middle of January and we've got no transfers. Anyway, on to another point. Can Arsenal maintain at the top of the table? It's all good doing a Leicester and winning the league once. Okay, but if we want to maintain this level and be at the big table for a longer period of time, we need to start acting like a big club and not just on the pitch. Okay, we have a great team and we have a great 3 or 4, maybe 6 or 7 extra squad players, but we don't have the squad depth of a team like Man City, even Real Madrid, but Bayern Munich. Look at some of the biggest clubs in the world. Is this squad even good enough to be able to compete in the Champions League next season? It's one thing getting to the Champions League, but are we going to go back to like 5 years ago or 6 years ago when we were lost in Champions League, get embarrassed by Bayern Munich with a 10-2 scoreline over 2 legs? I don't want that. It was embarrassing. It was one of the worst times of being an Arsenal fan, seeing your team get absolutely slapped up, home and away. We need to start doing something, and it's all good this season, and everyone can get carried away, and so am I. Don't get twisted. This is not a complete rant and nag and like I'm trying to bring down the mood. Arsenal are doing great right now, and I don't want this video to kill off that. All right, this is just purely trying to get some feedback and see if anyone else is feeling the way I am, because I'm quite puzzled of what's going on at Arsenal right now, hence the video. I want to talk about Arteta. Okay, I've been a big supporter from Arteta since day one. Okay, I've only been on YouTube for a short period of time, and I'm not very social media active before that in my personal life, so I haven't been like online a lot. But since Arteta came in, I saw what he was trying to do, or at least I could understand what his plan was. And from the previous managers we've had and the previous turmoil we've been in, I was willing to give him that a chance. And so far, Arteta's done well. But are we going to manage to keep Arteta? Okay. Now, hold on, I know what some people might say. Well, Arsenal gave him his big break, he's loyal to Arsenal, he loves the club. But for how long? Okay, how long are players like Bukayo Saka, Saliba, Gabriel Martinelli, Odegaard, all of our best players going to stick around if Arteta's not going to get the support that he needs? Or are the Kroenkes going to back him in the long term? Yes, they're backing him right now, and yes, we might buy a few years of loyalty because we gave him his big break. But how long is that going to last for? Is it going to be enough? All right, Arteta's already becoming a great manager. He's already turning a lot of haters into believers. And if he takes Arsenal to the Premier League title, maybe another club comes in. Maybe a Barcelona. They were already sniffing around earlier on in the season. Maybe they go for Arteta after Xavi. I mean, obviously Xavi's done a great job at Barcelona so far, and he's got them playing some great football, and they're doing well in the La Liga. But are we going to have the financial pull to keep a coach like Arteta? What happens if Pep Guardiola leaves Man City? So that's another pull for him. Arteta's already been at Man City. He knows the club. He knows a lot of the players still. The club know him. What's stopping Man City coming in and poaching Arteta if Pep Guardiola leaves? I mean, a lot of this is ifs and buts, and I don't see Pep Guardiola leaving Man City anytime soon. But I'm just trying to play devil's advocate. Are we going to be able to keep hold of a coach like Arteta? Okay, we're already seeing at like other clubs, like Tottenham, for example, struggling to keep Conte. Okay, they're not keeping him happy. He's now dejected, looking like he's going to leave or he's going to get sacked. We don't want this to spoil what we've done and what he's done so far. And I know this is very early for this type of conversation, but I believe Arteta is a top coach. Okay, maybe not at the same level as Pep Guardiola or even a Klopp or a Conte, but I believe he has the potential to get there. Okay, maybe in 10, 15 years, we're going to be looking back and saying Arteta's one of the best coaches in the world. He definitely has the ability for it. I mean, you can see his man management is next level. You can see his tactics, okay, not the best in the league, but you can definitely tell they're up there. He's a great tactician, and he knows the game. And he knows how to behave as a manager. I mean, for example, he's come into Arsenal, one of the biggest clubs in the country, as his first role. And look where we are now. So imagine if he wins that Premier League title. Are we going to keep hold of him? Are the Kroenkes going to treat him the way he needs to be treated and give him the tools to do the job? Because so far, we've had a massive clear out and we've had to buy new players. Anyone could look at Arsenal 3 years ago and could see that we've needed the rebuild. It wasn't like Arteta come in and decided, okay, these players, like, I want to go in a different direction. For example, say Potter came in at Chelsea and wants to go in a different direction. Okay, we needed it. Our team was trash. Okay, we had a lot of aging players, a lot of problems in the dressing room. We had to get rid of a lot of these players. It's not like Mikel Arteta chose to get rid of these players. All right, maybe Aubameyang and a few others he chose to get rid of. But a lot of them needed to go. Okay, they were on the edge of the door. For example, like Manchester United, like Pogba and all the other players that they had on the books beforehand, they were going to go. So regardless of whether Arteta or Ten Hag wanted them, they were already out the door. There is question marks over where's this club going to go in the future. Are we going to do something great this season? Can we even do something great this season? Are we going to have the squad depth and the financial pool to do something great this season? Because it only takes, well, we're sitting 8 points clear of Man City now. We've got to play them twice. Okay, if they beat us home and away, that's a 6 point deficit. We're down 2 point lead. Well, yeah, 2 points. So all it takes is for one draw and Man City to win and they go above us. And then we're chasing Man City. Okay, we've never done that. We've never chased anyone down. Okay, so that creates a harder challenge. Right now, we're keeping the pressure on Man City because we're playing one game at a time and we're doing our job. And it's then up to Man City to try and match that or do better. And so far, they haven't been able to keep up with us. But this is Man City. They have the deepest squad in the Premier League and by far some of the best squad players going. Okay, and when the Champions League comes around and the 3 games a week, obviously there's going to be question marks whether Man City are going to go for the Champions League because it's the holy grail to them right now because it's the thing they've been missing. But what happens if they fall out of the Champions League early? Then what? All they've got to focus on is the league. They're already out of the Carabao Cup and the FA Cup. You're telling me that Man City can't go deep in the FA Cup and go and win the Premier League? You know they can. They've done it before. So the only chance we have is by strengthening depth now, creating a better opportunity for when we go deep into this competition. We're already halfway, but when the 3 games a week starts, it could be a problem for us. We've got a lot of stuff going on and we don't have the squad depth to compete, not on that level. Okay, in the Europa League, right now we're playing lesser teams, so our B squad comes in and they can do a decent job. But when we have to then rotate in the later stages of the Europa League and play a harder team, then our first team's playing on the Thursday, and then they got to play again on Sunday. What's going to happen then? Okay, so far this team has only played like twice a week, a couple of times, and we saw what happened in the Europa League earlier on in the season. They struggled a bit, and that's when the loss come from Manchester United when we was playing Europa League. That's when the draw come against Southampton. There's something we have to work on, and having a player like Mudryk come in that is explosive and creating loads of problems would have been an ideal situation for us, because we're lacking in our wide areas. We have Saka and Martinelli, and second to that, who else have we got? Smith Rowe. He's been injury prone for the past year. Is he going to be ready to come back in the same intensity he was before? Don't know. All these question marks. We're leaving too much to chance. Anyway, I'm going to end it on a high note. I know it seems like I've been ranting and being negative this whole video, but there's certain questions I needed to ask and see how other people are feeling on the matter, because there was a few things that I wanted to get off my chest and put out there. But so far, Arteta has been brilliant. This season, he has been by far the best manager. Okay, the tune he's getting out of these Arsenal players is brilliant. We've looked like a completely different team to last season, and anyone's barely been able to put a touch on us. So Arteta has been hands down brilliant. And I don't want to have this video put any sour notes or bad taste in anyone's mouth, because I am a happy and very excited Arsenal fan, but I'm just pessimistic in some regards, because I've seen what's happened to us in the past, and looking back at the past 10-15 years, you can see what Arsenal problems were, and that was mainly because we didn't have the financial power to compete with Chelsea, with Man United, and then Man City, and then Liverpool. I'm worried that the same people that was in charge then are the same people in charge now, and I'm worried that they're going to go down the same route as FSG at Liverpool right now, and not willing to put their hand in their pocket to compete. All right, I know it gets very expensive at the top, but to maintain being at the top of the table, it's an expensive situation. You can't go to the top of the table and stay there just on hugs and kisses. It's not going to happen. All right, you need to put your money where your mouth is. You need to put your money on the table and buy new players. You have to keep refreshing your squad, keeping it turnover. Obviously, there's one thing about buying smart and buying too much, like a Chelsea, but there's a balance. You can still buy smart and spend the money. You don't have to be completely frigid with your money. You have to open up your checkbook at some point and put your hands in your pockets. It's not going to happen otherwise. You can only look back at the past 30 years of the Premier League, and you can see what teams have been able to be successful and what teams haven't, and look at how they've been successful. I mean, look at Man United under Ferguson. They're hands down the most successful club in the Premier League era, and that's mainly because they've had the financial pull over every other team, and they've been able to keep their squad turning over. And Alex Ferguson was a genius when it comes to refreshing his squad and keeping players in and out and moving them on, and he was great at it. And that's something that Wenger really lacked on sometimes. He was way too loyal to certain players, and we held them on too long, kept them, and rather than getting rid of them at the right times, and we made bad moves and ended up in a worse situation. But Arteta is doing the right job right now. Okay, he's doing the right things, he's saying the right things, and he's going in the right direction. So long may it continue, and I hope Arsenal continue down this route, and I hope Kroenke has decided to actually back Arteta properly and not just metaphorically, because it's all good keeping him in the job and trusting him to do the right thing, but if you don't give him the tools to succeed, what's the point? You might as well hire a worse manager and just go ahead with it and do what you want. Okay, because regardless, Arsenal's going to be making money. Arsenal always make money. It's a massive club with a global fan base, and it's always going to be putting money in their pocket. But if that's all you want, then pick up your shit and go. If you want to make this club great again, and you want to bring us to the top and keep us at the top, then you know what to do. Stop putting your hand in your pocket and stop letting clubs take the piss out of us in the transfer market. It's getting ridiculous. Okay, when I woke up that morning and saw Mudryk had gone to Chelsea, I was furious. Absolutely furious. Not that Mudryk's at Chelsea, the fact that we've allowed Chelsea to take the piss out of us in the transfer market and ended up with a player that's been twerking for us for ages. If a player wants Arsenal, why isn't he at Arsenal? Why is he at Chelsea? Obviously we know why, because they've obviously put more money up, either in the transfer fee or in the wages, or given a better deal, or the slight prospect of him playing more. But you know for a fact that any player worth their salt is going to want to push themselves to get into that starting spot, regardless of who's playing there. I mean, look at Man City with their wide players. At one point, they had Grealish, Sterling, Mahrez, Foden. I mean, all of these players could start for most of the teams in the Premier League, but they're all willing to stay at they all were willing to stay at Man City because they rotate a lot, and you bring them. They're in all 4 competitions. They have a chance to play. Arsenal need to start thinking. I mean, not to be like Man City anymore, but to act more like Man City in regards to having the squad depth to compete in all 4 competitions. There's no good just going for one competition every year and then thinking it's going to be successful, because it's not going to happen. We can't guarantee we're going to win the Premier League every year. It's not going to happen. This league is way too tough, and it's 38 games. It takes way too long to guarantee that you can be in there. Cup competitions, it's a lottery. Okay, if you get like Chelsea's luck and get shit draws all the way to Champions League final, and then all you have to do is beat Man City to win it, then there's a chance. But if you get a hard run, like Chelsea this season, where they have to beat Man City to get through the Carabao Cup, it's not going to happen. All right, you can't always guarantee your luck in these cup competitions. So we have to start future-proofing our squad to deal with multiple competitions, not just one. Okay, there's no good doing just one competition. You're never going to maintain anything, because all it takes is for one hiccup of you're playing like Bayern Munich in the Champions League, for example, or you're playing like Man City in the FA Cup, or you're playing Liverpool at Anfield in the Carabao Cup. These things happen, and that will stop you from winning trophies. Do we want to stay at the top or stay relevant like Tottenham have by winning fuck all? Or do we want to become Arsenal again and start winning fucking trophies? Personally, I want to win. All right, I'm sick and tired of not winning trophies. We're a massive club, and we need to start acting like it. Anyway, I've rambled on enough. I didn't mean this to be such a negative video, but there's certain things that need to be questioned, and it's very difficult not to sound negative when you're talking about these questions. So I'm going to leave it there, and I shall catch you soon. And then hopefully we're going to be looking forward to Man United game, and we're going to be doing the preview in the next couple of days before the game on Sunday. Anyway, thanks, God bless, good night.